Welcome back to a week in my life as a fashion designer. Hi, I'm Belinda, and this is me in my home studio based in Accra, Ghana. In this vlog, I'll be showing how I cut and stitched 3 pairs of trousers in the course of 2 days out of my work week. I already had pants patterns drafted for this client, so on day 1, all I had to do was do the usual studio cleanup and lay out the fabric. Every pattern should have a grain line, which is a straight line drawn on it, and it's very important during the layout process. Here you see me pinning the pattern to the fabric, but what I'm actually doing is I'm pinning the grain line first, and then I'm going to put the pins on the other parts of the pattern. I know it's confusing, but I'm measuring from the edge of the fabric to the grain line, and I'm doing that all the way down the grain line. That's the best way to cut out fabric. When you do it this way, it's said to be cut on grain. Take it as a crash course on Fabric Cutting 101.
It's important to always have straight fabric while cutting. I do my best to straighten the fabric as I go and push off any dirt or air bubbles caught in the folds. As a fashion designer inspired by Africa, I work a lot with African wax prints and textiles. Many of the people who have worked with me know that I'm obsessed with working with prints. In my work, I see many prints from different companies, local and international, making African wax prints, and I can say that this particular print with this round design is a very common print that you find with accessories and so many different designs of clothing in many beautiful colors. Speaking of colors, I think I've come to love making printed pants. Okay, let's get back to the project. So here I'm cutting out the pattern. I've done the seam allowances and I'm cutting the excesses of the pattern piece. For anyone wondering what happens to the scrap fabric, I have bags of scrap fabric that I piece together, and occasionally I make patchwork collections with these pieces. Currently, I'm planning a collection of patchwork tote bags, and I definitely think you should look out for them. Here, I'm overlocking the seams that I cut because we don't want anything raveling. This machine is an overlocker. It's used to do what we call seam finishing, to wrap the edges of the seams or the cut fabric so that it doesn't loosen or ravel. We're back at my sewing station. Here I have to transfer the darts from the pattern, the paper pattern, onto the fabric. That is what you're going to see me doing in a few seconds. It's important to transfer the patterns exactly as it is from the paper pattern onto the fabric so that we have the exact length of the darts or any other markings that need to be moved onto the fabric. Once that is done, then the next thing is to take off the paper pattern and start sewing. I always have to make sure all pins are out of the way of the sewing machine, because if pins hit needles, we have needles breaking and it can damage your sewing machine. So it's something I always avoid, but I won't say it never happens. It does happen to me, so I try to avoid it. Our next stop is the ironing station. Here I have this black piece of wood that I use to press seams when I'm done ironing. So there's a thing we do in sewing where you press. In pressing, you have the iron on the fabric and you have a weight. In my case, I use this piece of black wood. So once I iron, I press the weight on the seam to help flatten the seams and stitches that I have put together. Pressing while sewing is a very important process. I learned that if you press while you work, it's easier to have a very finished, clean garment at the end of the day. I had to speed up the video, but here you see a finished pair of pants. I love doing needlework and I don't like stitches showing on the outside. So for the hem here, I hand stitched everything. And here you can see it's nicely done. The invisible zipper at the front and elastic at the back. We also had pockets at the back of the trousers, and yeah, there you have it. One down, two more to go. On day 2, I'm working with this brown and turquoise fabric. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I love the design motifs in this fabric. I'm making the same pair of pants with this fabric, so things will be a little faster since we already have the pattern. All I have to do is lay out as I did in the previous design and cut. So I'm going to speed it up so you enjoy the process. I started marking fabrics with actual chalk a while ago because I realized that it's easy to just rub off when you're done working, and even as you handle the fabric or pattern pieces, the chalk markings rub off with time. It leaves no stains, and overall it's a cleaner process. I have different color chalk for different colors of fabric, and I think it helps with preventing fabrics from staining, and it's just a cleaner process. Personally, I think cutting out fabric is one of my favorite things to do in the entire sewing process. My favorite portion of this task is when I'm done cutting out the pattern and I fold the pattern piece. You'd see I do that a lot in this video. I always fold the pattern piece neatly and put it aside. That's my absolute favorite thing to do while sewing, just so you know. When it's done, I carry the folded pieces to the overlocker, and just like I did in the previous design, I'm going to overlock all the cut pattern pieces and prep them for sewing. else thinks watching someone overlock fabric is satisfying to watch. I think people should do YouTube channels where they're just overlocking fabric, especially with ASMR. If you're wondering why the paper pattern is still pinned to the fabric, well, I leave the pattern on because I still have darts to transfer, and it will be a little difficult to put the pattern back on after I take it off if I don't transfer the patterns. Ideally, I should transfer the patterns onto the fabric before overlocking. That would be the best method to go about this. But in this case, I am doing the opposite. I'm overlocking the fabric while the paper pattern is still on the fabric. Don't do as I do. We're back at the sewing machine again to piece the pattern pieces together. But like I did in the other design, I'll have to transfer the patterns, which I should have done before overlocking. But yes, forgive me, I'm going to do that now. I had to change the thread first because initial design I was using black. This design I'm going to be using brown thread, so I have to change the thread on the machine before I start working with the machine. Comment below which you prefer. Some girlies and guys are more of industrial machine people. Others are more of domestic machine people. I've been to both parties and I'd say I prefer the industrial machine because it's more sturdy. I'm always afraid I can do something that will break the domestic machine. So comment below and let me know which type of machine person you are. So first we stitch the darts and then we start putting the front, back and legs together. Don't you just love a good time-lapse overlocking session? The next place is the ironing station. I hope you guys don't think I iron only once, because every time I come here I need to iron every seam stitched. So here I'm ironing the darts that I stitched and the center, front and back pieces. Once this is done, I'll go back to stitch, come back to the ironing station again and press whatever stitches I made. It's an ongoing process till you're done stitching the garment. Never forget this. Always iron. Sad things happen in content creation, and the sad thing that happened here is I lost footage. I lost the footage for the last pair of trousers, and the client came back and asked me to make one more pair. So I made 4 pairs of trousers for this project, and I lost the footage for the last 2. but I am able to show you how they turned out. They all had 2 back pockets. They all had elastic in the waistband at the back. This is the blue one we did in the first part of this video, and the one on the left is the one we just finished making. The other 2 are new to this video, but yeah, the client asked me to make this one, and I think they turned out really beautiful. The fabrics are gorgeous. This is a woodine fabric. The other 2 are high target and GTP wax prints. It's a beautiful vibrant color. And the blue, green and turquoise one is also, I think it's an ATL wax print. They're all made in Ghana, African print textiles. That is the rundown of a couple of days in my life as a fashion designer based in Accra, Ghana, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.